The new Takaichi government here in Japan is following through on its promises to crack down on foreigner problems. But what exactly are they talking about? What is being proposed? And is this going to affect you? Let's talk about it. So, following on from the upper house election in 2025, which was characterized by a rise in slightly xenophobic, perhaps anti-foreigner kind of rhetoric from certain parties, the LDP leadership election campaign also featured some of the same kind of rhetoric, even from the person that eventually won, Sanae Takaichi. She ended up giving a speech where she talked about foreign tourists abusing the deer in Nara, where she's from. But this story seemed a bit suspicious because neither the police nor the park officials were able to confirm any incidents of tourists attacking deer. So it seems like she might have made it up based on kind of social media rumors and so on. Regardless of all that, now that the government's in power and they're coming up with specific proposals, it is nice to see that the government is pretty much staying on message. Most of the discourse I've seen is emphasizing that most foreign residents are law-abiding and productive members of society, and Japan has an interest in coexisting peacefully with foreign residents, and so that these new kind of policy proposals are really just targeting people who are not following the rules or people who are causing problems in other ways. And there's basically three main areas that we've seen proposals regarding. So the first one, and the one that's the most detailed and the one that's actually had specific proposals made, is visas. Specifically, making visas and permanent residency as well conditional on people paying their taxes, paying national health insurance, which is compulsory for all residents of Japan, and paying their pension, which is compulsory for people who live in Japan who are between the ages of 20 and 60. It was already the case that to get permanent residency, you had to provide proof that you were up to date with your taxes, you were up to date with your health insurance, and you were up to date with your pension payments. This will now be expanded to all visa renewals or visa changes starting in April 2027, which surprises me because I thought the laws concerning this next point actually came in 2025. But again, from April 2027, it will be easier to revoke permanent residency, specifically for people who are willfully not paying taxes, health insurance, or pension. And it seems like it's going to be quite difficult to get your PR revoked unless you really try. So basically, in order for PR to be revoked after April 2027, you will need to be aware that you had to pay taxes, health insurance, and pension. You would have to be able to pay it, and you would have to ignore repeated requests for you to pay, and then a kind of final warning, and only then would your permanent residence be revoked. The start of these new procedures is almost a year and a half away, so even if you haven't been paying everything that you were supposed to, you've got quite a long time to sort it out before these new rules come in. Now, something the government hasn't talked about that I personally believe might be an issue in the future is people maintaining permanent residence in Japan without living in Japan. So this would be someone who leaves Japan, provides, all the notices that they're leaving, keeps their Zairyu card, gets a 5-year re-entry permit, and then before that 5-year runs out, comes back, gets another re-entry permit, and continues doing this so that they're able to maintain permanent residence without actually living in Japan. And this seems to be fairly easy to do at the moment. So the immigration offices are clearly giving people 5-year re-entry permits, and they're also allowing them to renew their Zairyu card, even without having an address in Japan. Now, I believe this isn't really how things are supposed to work. So in order to have permanent residence, you would have to actually live in Japan, have a jusho in Japan, have an address basically a residence. And if you have a jusho in Japan, you would be expected to pay tax and health insurance and pension. So I suspect at some point in the future, this is going to come to the attention of the government or the public, and it's going to be fairly easy to crack down on that. No need for any new laws or anything like that, just a stricter interpretation of re-entry permits. The next big issue that the government is looking at dealing with is purchase of real estate by non-Japanese nationals. We don't have any specific proposals about this yet, but it seems like the government is looking at three kind of areas. One is speculative real estate purchases in cities, which basically has the negative effect of driving prices up, which is making people unhappy. The next is purchases of land near kind of defense infrastructure, so near sensitive sites that are important for national security and so on. And the third is purchases of natural resources. So this would be things like water resources, mountains, farmland, and that kind of thing. The government is currently looking at these issues, and so we don't have any specific proposals. If we do get proposals, I am hoping that the government will make a distinction between non-Japanese nationals who live in Japan and non-residents who live outside Japan. The rules will be looser for non-Japanese people living in Japan. And the third category is tourism. So I think the government is mainly looking at charging tourists more to come to Japan, possibly making things a little bit more restrictive, possibly doing away with tax-free shopping. And I think all of these are pretty reasonable things to consider, particularly charging more for visa on arrival and getting rid of tax-free shopping seem like a bit of a no-brainer. Basically, Japan should profit more from tourism than it is doing at the moment. There is a proposal to bring in a J-ESTA type program. I think it's called the J-ESTA, which sounds like jester, like the court jester. But yeah, it's the J-ESTA. And this is going to be coming in 2029. So just like the US ESTA and similar systems all over the world, visitors to Japan would apply online before they came, and they would get that provisional kind of permission to come, and that would be your visa on arrival. And there would be a fee for this, and I think Japan should set the fee slightly higher than other countries are doing, and in that way they'd get a nice new revenue source. Other proposals possibly coming down the line, making it harder, or rather making it stricter, to get permanent residence and to naturalize. There's lots of chatter online about how this is too easy. If you've watched my naturalization video, you might disagree with the fact that it's too easy. And the fact that under 50% of permanent residence applications are approved would seem to indicate that permanent residence is not particularly easy to get either. But those are the proposals, the changes that I'm aware of. Nothing too groundbreaking, nothing I really disagree with, and nothing that's going to affect my life particularly. But how about you? Are you worried about any of these things? Do you think they're fair? Do you agree with the action that the government's proposing to take? I'm quite encouraged by the fact that the government seems to be coming up with specific proposals to deal with specific issues, rather than mixing everything together into this vague kind of foreigner problem thing, this gaikokujin mondai, which I think is a really unhelpful way to frame the situation. Also, have I missed anything? Are there any other proposals that I haven't mentioned that might affect foreign residents? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.